it's me, Mr. Red Fox, and I'm joined by two very special people. First one's going to introduce himself. Go ahead, sir. Introduce yourself.
Finally, The Rock has come back to Mr. Red Fox's show. It's your favorite guy, John Lucas, here to talk about some game things with you. Let's talk.
That's right. John Lucas and The Rock are here. Well, we might be joined by other people as we go on. Today we're going to talk about, yesterday we talked about how on the consumer side of things, consumers have certain things they want and need. And now we're going to talk about what the industry, the industrial side of the video game business says they want and need. I'm talking about developers. We're going to talk about how they like to talk about how they need power, and how they need certain architectures and all that shit, and how all of that is really a moot point. So without further ado, let's get down into it by talking about the legacy of the consoles. So without further ado, let's get it started. You wanna start first, John, or shall I?
I'll go, you go first and set it up, and I'll buy it back.
Basically, here's the thing. You'll hear a lot of developers say, we need more power from these consoles. Here's the problem. No console has ever been fully utilized. No console has ever been fully utilized at all. Ever. I'll let John talk more about that.
Yeah, you're right. That we've always gotten into a situation where the console business is very rough. I mean, it's basically as soon as you get a good groove, everybody keeps wanting to move to the next big thing, and you haven't really finished out what you've already started. It's one thing that annoys me about console gaming, that you don't really fill out your the capabilities of your machines, and that I noticed this most pointedly in the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo, because of the timing it came in and the market forces around it, it was in a crunch period. As a gamer, as a teenager back then, you just enjoying the games. But when you look back in a historical perspective, you know that the Super Nintendo was in the shadow of its predecessor, the NES, for the first couple of years of its life. By the time it gets out of that shadow, it's in the shadow of the coming fifth generation with the 3DO, Jaguar, Saturn, and the PlayStation. So the life of the console got cut short. We had a Star Fox FX chip game, and then that Stunt Race FX game. We didn't get any more of those style games. We didn't get, Donkey Kong Country showed you that there's a lot more things you could do with the Super Nintendo than we saw. But and sprite gaming was getting more and more developed. Chrono Trigger is one of the best versions of it, right? Mm-hmm. But then as soon as we get, everybody wants to move to the fifth gen now, and the fact that I look at the Famicom, I look at the Super Nintendo's release cycles. There's a game called Fire Emblem 776, I think that's the name.
Yep.
And that game came out in 1999 in Japan. Now the fact that it comes on a Super Famicom in Japan was getting the opposite game, the Nintendo Wars series on the Famicom, not the 64. There was no such thing as 64 Wars that generation. It was on the Famicom. So the fact that they kept putting stuff, the Satellaview was working on the Famicom. They were doing so many things with the Famicom. The truth is, the Famicom was not supposed to end when the 64 showed up. The 64 was not supposed to show up that early. The real truth is, they hadn't finished doing what they were supposed to do with 16-bit gaming yet. 8-bit gaming was showing you how far it could go. When we got to 89 with Ninja Gaiden and the Super Mario 3 and Tiny Toon Adventures, and I mean this old chipset from 83 was giving you newer and newer experiences that you could do. They took these 4 colors and spread them in ways you didn't see coming.
And here's the thing: this is not to throw any shade on Nintendo. This was a big thing about Japanese console makers in Japan, like the TurboGrafx 16, aka the PC Engine. That thing had games coming out for it in 2004. Like 13, 14 years after it came out. Yeah. The Dreamcast has games coming out for it right now. Yeah, these are indie developers, but still, people are still making games for this thing. There are people still making games for the SNES, the NES. You know, that tells you the testament of these systems.
Not just that, Red Fox. You have also the indie developers in general seem to continue where those old generations left off. Most of these games are built with a third gen format, or a fourth gen format, or a fifth gen format. They keep extending what was established on those old platforms. Matter of fact, you can say a lot of stuff in the mobile world is still pretty much fifth gen and sixth gen games repackaged in a different way. So
basically, yeah.
So situation is that no console has been. You're absolutely right about that. I see this with the GameCube. Matter of fact, the PS2 showed you that. That's why it lasted so long, because they kept putting games out for the system. New games would come out in that game in 2012. I mean, the fact is, the horsepower race is some kind of a one-upsmanship that's gotten out of control. And the fact that everybody's complaining about the 7th generation being that long, the truth is that's going to be the norm from now on, because horsepower race is virtually over. You're going to refine. Every new console is going to have a refinement in power and efficiency to get things. The same thing you do a lot better and with a lot less resource. That goes without saying. But the horsepower race is over. I'm gonna say it the way he said it. The late great Satoru Iwata at E3 2004, he said the time when horsepower alone made an important difference is over. He was right, because we have gotten to the point where every color can stand on it. We can detail textures from each other. We can detail the range of colors, the broadness of the purples, the richness of the greens, the depth of the yellows, all the different colors, all the blacks and whites, the sheen, the gloss. We got every detail. We can make cartoony games like actual cartoons on a TV show. We can make things that approach realism, not exactly realism, because you have to have the divine representation for that. But outside of that, you will have a good approach toward realism. So what is really the next level in horsepower that's supposed to be, that's holding you back? There's no holding you back anymore. It's not about horsepower that's holding you back. It's your craft that's holding you back. You don't need 4K, 8K, 16K, or whatever y'all gonna put out in the future. You need to make better games. You need to figure out to work with the tools you have. I don't care if I have the most priciest paintbrushes in the world. If I'm not painting nothing worth talking about, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my money on the paintbrush, making the paintbrush store rich, and yet my art is not art. It's just a bunch of random strokes on a canvas. I need somebody to make craftsmanship. I need somebody to take limitations and go beyond them. You got all the music, all the sound, all the audio visuals you can use and you need. Only thing that's going to change is the control, is the input device. The only thing that's going to change is the interaction between the human being and the virtual world. That's where you have to put your innovation at, because horsepower is over.
Well, you're right. I can't really. The only thing I'll add is this: consoles are the second lowest common denominator in terms of technology. Okay, if you're thinking, "Oh man, this is so powerful," it's obsolete by the time it's released. The lowest common denominator device you can use is a handheld, typically speaking. Unless you're Sony, for some reason they always fall on using expensive tech to their things and losing money on things when they make it. Because
like PlayStation VR, they just announced that VR will not be sold at a profit. I don't know why they don't learn the lesson.
They announced that their VR isn't going to be sold separately.
No, they said it's not going to be sold at a profit. It's basically going to be a loss leader again.
Of course, because Sony can't learn from their mistakes. They continuously, like, Sony is one of those companies that if they F up, they will do the same thing over and over and over again. They just can't seem to learn from their lessons. But maybe I'm insane. Those of you listening, there is a Q&A app open. You can always ask a question if you care to. And we'll attempt to answer them. So the reason I brought this topic up is because we're facing a bit of revisionist history. What I mean by this is people, gamers, if you will, who should know better. I mean, if you're a gamer who didn't start gaming until the 6th or 7th gen, you would be forgiven for not really knowing the history of gaming. But if you've been gaming since the 5th, 6th, 3rd gen, or sorry, the 4th or 3rd gen, the 5th, 4th, or 3rd gen, or even the 2nd or even the 1st gen, you should know better. You know, like the most powerful console has never won a console gen.
Never, and never will.
Either by numbers or profit, it's never won. You know, the Atari came out during the 2nd gen, the Atari 2600. Its competitor was the Intellivision, which was, I mean, really, they had commercials on TV with Billy Clinton. He was like, well, the Magnavox Odyssey is the basketball game actually looks like basketball. And it did, relatively speaking. It did look like basketball. It wasn't just dots and beeps and pixels. And yet, at the end of the day, the Atari 2600 won that console gen.
But let me tell you how much it won. It was like 30 million 2600, 3 million in television, 10 times.
Exactly. It was ridiculous. It was basically Nolan Bushnell and Atari kicked the Magnavox Odyssey's ass. Okay, they kicked its ass. Matter of fact, Atari won the first console gen. Even though, technically speaking, all of the innovations that people like to say are with Atari are not true. Like cartridges. Cartridges were created using chips and tubes, but using cartridge technology developed by Fairchild. Fairchild was a company that developed cartridges, basically. And one half of the company made the technology. They'd sell it to the other half as cartridges. And basically, those were the first cartridges. These were consoles that the Fairchild Channel F. You could put a cartridge in, and basically what was really happening was that, like, it would interact with circuits in the console in order to change how the data was read in order to give you a different game. So, like, you'd put it in, you'd play, like, Pong, which actually, Pong was created by Fairchild Channel F, and Atari stole it, and they got sued by Fairchild, and Fairchild was like, you know, you owe us money. And so Atari had to give them like X amount of dollars for every unit of Pong that they sold. So Fairchild got their cut, but at the end of the day, Pong got associated with Atari, not with Fairchild. But I mean, you know, there were other competitors at the time. There was Telstar, there was Tandy Vision, there was ColecoVision, there was shit, I forgot. There was basically like 6 console manufacturers. The Matrix. Yeah, there was the Vectrix. Yeah, the Vectrix. I mean, there was like 5, 6 consoles in the first gen. And then you had the first video game crash, which basically, because people were tired of Pong. And I don't blame them, because everyone was using Pong or variations thereof of Pong. Or if they had something that wasn't Pong, it was still basically Pong. You know, or it's a racing car game. You're a dot avoiding other dots on the screen as you constantly move forward. You know, people got tired of it. And then you had the first crash. Then Atari came back. They were like, you know what? We can do this. And they released the 2600. And that had different games. Ooh, it was amazing. But at the end of the day, Atari's own hubris shot them in the ass. Nolan Bushnell sold the company because they weren't as profitable as they should have been to Warner Brothers. Yeah, that name just keeps on popping up when you think about shitty consumer practices, shitty industrial practices that damage the consumer, Warner Brothers. And they basically spent, what, $3 million, $4 million on getting the rights to E.T., and then gave a guy like 6 weeks to make a game.
History repeats, because we never learn our lessons.
Yeah. Warner Brothers never learns their lesson. And gamers who keep on buying shit from Warner Brothers, you never learn your lesson. You're like someone who gets raped, and then you come back like 2 months later. Yeah, rape me again. Yeah, I wasn't raped hard enough the first time. I need to see how it feels in order to contrast and compare. Maybe it's different this time. That's too harsh. I'm being too harsh on gamers. They just want to play games. They don't care about if they're getting screwed over.
But they should. They should. That's the problem.
But they don't. They just, they want to get their fix. They're like junkies.
Consumers versus customers. And the thing, like you say, about the console wars, these console wars, every time they come out, prove Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo was it wasn't the most powerful console of that generation, but it was stronger than the Genesis by a long shot. And yet the Genesis was keeping up with the Super Nintendo and beating it, at least in America, much of its life. So the fact is, because the Genesis could only put out 512 colors maximum. That's it. It's pretty cool, but it's 512 versus Super Nintendo, which could put out 32,768. That's a giant palette. It's much more than Mario Paint showed you. I'll tell you that much. Yep. So the real truth is, on paper, the Super Nintendo shouldn't even have a challenge from the Genesis. Yet that wasn't the case. Genesis came with lots of heart. They didn't have to worry about tech. They didn't push tech. They did for a marketing purpose, blast processing. But what really pushed Sega was their aggressive marketing, and they had good games. They had Sonic. They had Echo the Dolphin. They had
Streets of Rage. Basically, I've told this to people before. The fourth gen console war is the only console war that mattered, because basically you had these two companies hitting at each other with, you had the shitty marketing and the really dirty tactics that, what's his name? Forgot. He was the president of Nintendo of America at the time. Like, he was like the American Yamauchi almost.
Awakawa?
No, he was talking about Night Trap. He went on Capitol Hill.
Howard Phillips? Howard Phillips?
Yeah. That guy, generally they were fighting about the games. It was the games. What games were coming. The SNES version of Mortal Kombat 1 had the sweat instead of blood. But the superior version of that game, the next iteration of Mortal Kombat 2, was better on the SNES. Better processing power, better music, all that type of stuff. The superior version of Street Fighter, better on the SNES.
That's right.
It just, at the end of the day, they were fighting with games.
Yes.
They were fighting with games. And at the end of the day, if you're a gamer, and these people proclaim they're gamers, then you should care about the fucking games and not about what's inside the console. It's about the games that are being played on the console, not what's inside of the console.
And like you say, the future console wars, we got to the point where it's basically almost like people that talk about Gucci and Prada. It's not about the stuff; it's about the brand nowadays. Nobody cares about brands. Do matter if there's something behind the brand. That's why I like Nintendo, but not because it's Nintendo. It's because of what Nintendo makes, not just because of the logo itself. But some people only care about the logo. They care about, I have to have this Sony this, and I have to have this Xbox this, even if there's nothing behind that. It's just more. It's a human nature to tribalism, to get into their clique and go against another clique. Even though it's not based on anything but the brand, not based on the games, because the games are the same between Xbox and Sony. For the most part, it's not really about that. It's more about some artificial situation. And it's sad when the developers somewhat fall into this stuff too. They're trying to pick these little camps, and all it does is retard gaming and what it could do. When we had the fourth gen console war, game innovation wasn't being stifled. You might have had a lot of dirty tactics. They put Super Mario Kart in the back of a putt cart and said, "I'm blast processing." But both of those guys were trying to outdo each other in the game. It reminded me of wrestling with the Monday Night Wars when WCW and WWF
and WWF. Yep.
When they were good, and ECW was the one that was pretty much inspired both of them to become what they became. They came from ECW altogether.
Yep.
But the situation is, at that time, we had on one side the new world order, and then on the other side you got Nation of Domination, Degeneration X, and you got the Hart Foundation. On the other side, you got Harlem Heat, and you got Goldberg. On this side, you got The Rock and Stone Cold. They were throwing their best at each other, trying to compete on the merits of what they're here for, wrestling. That's what they was there for, wrestling and wrestling entertainment. They were competing, they were outdoing each other on the craft. That's what made that exciting. That's what made that time in wrestling history, so good.
Yep. Well, I
now,
told this to people. One of the worst things that happened to wrestling is when, basically Vince McMahon basically bought all of the competitors. when basically they conglomerated and all the competitors went under one roof, it kind of destroyed because you had no competition. There was no one to really push each other. And that's, I mean, that was bad, you know, because people, I mean, a lot of people, they know the 80s, they know the 90s when it was like, you know, WCW and WWF. But they forget that before that, you had regional wrestling. You know, you had like the southern area, the Midwest, the West Coast, the North, the Canadian Wrestling Federation. I mean, you had like all of these different people, and you could see different matches, different people. All of them had their own superstars and shit, and it was great. Different styles. Different crowds. It was a very interesting experience. And now that stuff kind of disappears because people are afraid. You know, it got conglomerated, and I mean, you know, people. I mean, I personally don't really like. That was the nail in the coffin for me for wrestling when Vince McMahon when WWF beat WWF bought WCW. I was like, that's the end of this shit. This is not going to be fun anymore.
Yeah, and after it wasn't long till those guys who built themselves into there went on to the movies and tried to get out of there because they knew it wasn't going anywhere. That's why The Rock went to the movies, guys, because he knew it wasn't only a matter of time for that thing falls apart on itself. He basically trying to look out for his own career. The situation is, but that's what you have when you have people competing on the craft. In the gaming world right now, we got people picking sides on stuff that's not really about craft anymore. And you already talk about the consumers, and they can be more forgiving because they're just the buyers.
Yeah, they just want a product. You know, they're like I mean, I hate to say this, but a lot of gamers are kind of like a drug addict. They just want to get their fix. I mean, they just like, you know. And here's the thing: look, we've all had a game that we were just jonesing for. Like, I'm really looking forward to Xenoblade Chronicles X. I know when I get that game, you're not going to see my ass for like at least a month. Like all of Christmas vacation, I'm just going to be playing the shit out of that. I might put up a few videos of me playing that. I might, you know, you know, but still, you get what I'm saying? Like, I know that's going to be my addiction, you know, because I love JRPGs. And this is a JRPG made by the people who made Chrono Trigger, who made Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy V, you know, the good Squaresoft games. And my God, you know, this is shit. They've not made a bad game yet, in my opinion. So, I mean, you know, this one's probably going to be good. So, I mean, my point is this, is that, you know, we've all been addicted. We all want to get that game. Like, I knew when I got Super Mario Wii U, that was going to be a good game. I knew when I got Mario 3D World, I knew that was going to be a good game. You know when games are going to be good. You don't have to ask any questions about it. And we all have certain games we want to have. I actually, to tell you the truth, I was looking forward to Black Ops 3, the multiplayer actually, just because I kind of like Jeff Goldblum. But I'm sorry. After I saw him in The Fly, I really liked him in that show. In that movie. But my point is this, is that gamers want to get their fix and they don't really care about the history of it. They don't care where it comes from. They don't care if it's a good product or not. They just want to get high. Which is, I mean, I know this is a bad analogy, but it's so appropriate.
It's real. But like I said, at the end of the day, they're the pawns in this situation. We got to blame the kings of the situation, the developers. That's their dealers. And when the developers feed this crap, when the developers put this poison into the gaming, what do you call it? I want to say atmosphere, but more like a
consciousness of the gamers.
Into the environment, like that. When they put these mentalities into the environment, it ruins a lot of things and it retards the advance of the craft. We don't get what we're supposed to get out of this meeting. There's a lot of people disappointed in this generation because they bought the hype, they got the platform, and it's not living up to what it was supposed to do. They're getting a lot of cross-gen games. You're getting a lot of the, you know, retread, just gloss. Where's the excitement anymore? Where's the no? Because these guys are basically the money is so high invested they can't take risk.
Exactly.
So they're going to basically make schlock, and just iterate on it until the well runs dry. They
Well,
don't
they
know
got to go for the sure thing. They got to go for and here's the thing. We're not putting on rose-tinted goggles and saying that this gen's the only gen that's guilty of it. I will tell you right now, when I first got a Sega Genesis and an SNES, the first few games on that system that were from third parties, a lot of them looked like glorified, like third-gen games. Almost. Yeah. They almost look like NES games on the SNES. They almost look like SNES games. It took Sega Mark I, like Master System games. I mean, it took about a year for the games to start to look up to par, which is why first-party exclusives for these systems are so important. Because if anyone's going to know how to push your hardware, it should be the people who made the damn system. You know.
Yeah. That's why
there's a lot of games in this gen that look like they could have been on last gen. I'm just saying, you know.
No, it's the grand majority. Like I say, even the PlayStation 3 and the 360, when they launched, they had games made for that system. They wasn't PS2 and Xbox Original One games. They were PS3 and 360 games. There was Cameo, Halo 3. Halo 3. There was Resistance Fallen Man. There was that Gran Turismo 5 Prologue. They were games built with this new system in mind. That's not happening this year. This is the first time I've seen this happen to this degree. It always happens a little bit because you have sports games and those little movie tie-in guys who don't give a damn. They're just trying to cash in with the enterprise, right?
Right.
But most of the games when the new generation came along were new generation games. When the sixth generation came along, there was a game built for the PS2 and the Xbox and the Dreamcast and the GameCube. They were built for that system, not really, they're not really meant for the past system. There was a clean divide between both worlds. That makes you say there's a reason why we put out another console, because we have another set of games that we want you to play we couldn't play before. That's what generation is really supposed to stand for. You're supposed to have games that are unique that can't be done in the last generation. And this generation is not that. I'm gonna call out right here. The PS4 is the PS 3.5.
Yeah.
And Xbox 2 is the Xbox.
The Xbox One is the Xbox 362 or the Xbox 720.
Yeah, it's not.
You can't even play Xbox 360 games. That's the sad.
I mean, and like I said, I was surprised. I thought I wasn't keeping up with every detail. I thought Rise of the Tomb Raider was going to be an actual H-gen game, and it turned out that's a 360 game too. What's going on here?
Basically, I mean, which it makes sense because Square Enix is releasing that game, and they've got the engine. They spent that game sold 6 million across 2 platforms. Its previous generation, the Tomb Raider reboot, sold over 6 million across 2 platforms or 3. It was on PC. It was on PC and consoles like the PS3 and the Xbox 360. And that game, Square Enix has spent so much money developing it that they were like, we didn't make enough money off of this, and it sold over 6 million. So I mean, sad. Yeah, that's embarrassing because basically,
that's part of why cross-gen is going on, because these guys have backed themselves into the corner with these production values. They keep putting all this money in gloss, not craft, and you've gotten your junkies used to this gloss fix.
Yeah,
it's a good drug, this gloss, and you can't satisfy that craving, because once you drug anything, and that's how the human body works. Once you get acclimated to it, you need a higher dose. But you can't. There's no such thing as the highest dose, because numbers are infinite. So after a while, you're gonna break your back trying to sell this stuff. You're gonna put more and more money and sell the same amount of units. That's why cross-gen is going so long. They're trying to cover their costs. But the fact that you're talking about you need more power, the fact that the PS4, which is the most powerful console of the 8th generation, is talking about we need more horsepower. What are you talking about? You got the horsepower, right?
Well, those are the developers. They're claiming they need. Well, I mean, personally speaking, I think when they went x86 architecture, which is basically PC-based coding, that was where they messed up, because I mean, like the Xbox 360 was by far the easiest console to port to last gen. And a lot of the definitive versions of the 7th gen titles were on the Xbox 360. And that used PowerPC architecture. So did the Wii. So did the GameCube. So did the original Xbox. And but I find it hilarious that now that these two consoles have gone to be more PC-like with x86 architecture, developers are like, oh, well, it's difficult for us to... Like, no, you can't switch what you were doing. Last gen PowerPC was easy for you to you could really optimize for that architecture, and now you can't. So pick what bullshit lie you're selling me this time. You know.
And see, that's what's going on. These third-party developers, they're drunk with power, and they need to be put in check. That's why I know this generation is going to be the Unity generation, because they're going to basically break their little rebellion up internally. They're going to basically do themselves in with their practice. Just like every time it's like Atari did themselves in it's not Atari, but the era of Atari in the 80s. It's like mobile's going to do itself. And Activision going to find out the hard way that King was a worthless purchase, but they'll find out in time.
You think what, Candy Crush?
Yeah, real ridiculous. 5.9 billion. Are you serious?
You know, they should have pumped some money into Blizzard and had them resurrect some of their older franchises, like Lost Vikings, and an actual. They should have launched World of Warcraft 3 that they never launched. We only got 1 and 2. The
thing is the situation is it's top heavy. It's gonna fall on its own weight, and the fact that you keep talking about power means you're sorry as a developer. You have power. You have all the tools you need. The Wii U has all the tools you need. The Xbox One has all the tools you need. The PS4 has all the tools you need.
Exactly.
There's no limitation. You can put out anything you want to. Now, if you're trying to create second reality, which I think a lot of these guys are trying to do, you're out of your lane.
Well, you need to go join Quantic Dream, because that's run by a guy who wants to be a movie director. And I've seen the movie he made. It's batshit crazy. Like, there's a reason he doesn't make movies. So,
the recreate reality, you got to get a lot better technology than these little rag and tag computers you got now. You need divine inspiration to
and
create
it's going
reality.
to be very expensive, and you're not going to make money off of it. So my point is just this: people need to, developers need to go back to basics. You need to go back to brass tacks. It's like if you're tutoring someone in how to do math, you don't start with you don't teach them addition and subtraction, and then jump to trigonometry and calculus and high-end physics. You go from addition and subtraction to multiplication and division to square roots and exponents, and then algebraic equations. Then there's levels. So developers need to go back to basics. Once they get the basics down, then you give them some more technology. But they got to go back to basics. They got to learn how to do gameplay first. Then you start building a story. Then you build other shit to do with it. We got some questions here. I think we'll answer some of them as we go through the cast. We got one from Anderson Archilla. As a matter of fact, all of them are from Anderson Archilla. But he's a great contributor. So I don't mind answering or sounding off his questions. Wasn't the GameCube made according to the demands of developers, only for them to jump ship to the PS2, which was less than development friendly? You want to take this one?
Oh yeah, I mean, say that question one more time.
Wasn't the GameCube made according to the demands of developers, only for them to jump ship to the PS2, which was less than developer friendly?
Oh yeah, see, that's that old. That's. I'm glad you said it, Anderson Archilla, because I always, these guys, the gamers have short memory. They don't remember that horsepower and trying to cater to third parties is not the key to getting Nintendo's third party support. They will not get third party support because the third party is invested in not supporting them. It has nothing to do with power or architecture or anything or this side. That was the big excuse on the GameCube. GameCube had the power. It was cheap and it had the power. I don't know how they pulled that mess off. They created an efficient console, small, sturdy, and tough. This is the toughest. You can throw that thing off a 10-story building, that thing won't break. That's how strong.
Exactly.
That's how strong that console was, and it was affordable. The games were well made, unique, and it was powerful, and nobody supported it. The third party went to the PS2 because the PS2 was how they built their political power. It had nothing to do with horsepower and architecture. And the fact they went to a thing that you say is less easy to develop for is because that's what they want to. That's what they want to put their power behind. The whole thing about the real truth about in this industry is that the PlayStation and Xbox are the third-party puppets. Those platforms don't exist without the third-party.
They're third-party platforms. That's what people need to understand. The Xbox. I said puppets. Yeah, the Xbox and the PS, the Sony and Microsoft consoles are third-party platforms. They are for the third party. Third party runs that shit. Which is basically like going to a household where the kids run the house and not the parents. Yeah. That's basically what, it's like you come into a house, you pay the house note on, you pay the lights, and the kid gives you a look and tells you to shut up and go and sit down and shut up, and you do it even though you're the parent. That's basically what Microsoft and Sony are doing with third parties, and the third parties are the kids, and Sony and Microsoft, since they're the console manufacturers, are the parents, and they're getting treated like they're the child by their children.
And that's why they're in the shape they're in business-wise with those consoles, by the way, too. Because they let the kids run that house too much. Yeah,
it's bad. It's really, really bad. And you know what? No, go ahead, John.
No, go. I'll let you go out before I start. I'll be on that.
The thing is that the GameCube was a very powerful console. It used PowerPC architecture, which is way more efficient than x86. You can do more with less, which means you can technically, if you have a powerful PowerPC console, like when I say power, I mean in terms of hardware capability, you can make a huge world. There was no excuse for GTA 5, for GTA San Andreas and Vice City and GTA 3 not being on the GameCube, other than third parties wanted to put their weight behind Sony, and that's their business. Sony has suffered because of it, catering to third party needs. So is Microsoft. I know gamers like third-party games. I like third-party games too. Like I said, I love GTA San Andreas. That's one of my favorite games. I've bought that game like 5 times over. But I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and say, "Wow, this game couldn't have been done on any other console." That game could have been done on a lot of consoles, a lot of them.
Yeah, and the thing is, it proves the point that it was always an excuse. It was cartridge last time, and cartridge was actually better than this, and always was better than this. That's why nobody saves their data on disk anymore. Everybody saves their data on. I got discs. I'm looking at them discs I bought right now. I haven't used discs in a long time to save anything. People save on these flash cards nowadays. If you buy them in the store, cards and cartridges is the same thing. Better than this, and they were better than this back then. They were just more expensive back then. That was a drawback. Mm-hmm. But the 64 could do everything that the PS1 could do, and then some. They put Resident Evil 2 and 5 in a way smaller space somehow. And they had more space. They can make the game exactly the way it was on the PS1. I mean, and probably not that much space either. When the GameCube came along, it was like, oh, we can't do it on small discs. That's a bunch of nonsense. Everybody was putting out multiple disc games anyway. PS2 had multiple disc games, so this side had nothing to do with anything. So it was always an excuse. Then the Wii comes along and says, I'm done with the power. 3 generations doing power. Super Nintendo, 64, and GameCube. Power is not the answer. We already topped out with the GameCube anyway. We're just going to take it a little further with the Wii, but we're not concentrating on power this generation. Now horsepower is a problem. So Wii U comes along. It's stronger than the PS3. It's stronger than the 360, and yet it's not getting WWE 2K16, even though it's stronger on those platforms. But those 360 and PS3 are getting it. Has nothing to do with power. Never will have nothing to do with power. It's about not that kind of power. It's political power that's keeping the sport around.
Yep. So they're third parties want to be kingmakers. Okay. They want to control who's in charge of the industry, and they don't want to live in a universe where Nintendo is in control of the industry.
And before we get to the next question, let me break down the roles of the parties. I think nobody really knows what parties stand for, why they are named the way they are. There's a reason why it goes 1, 2, 3. When you count numbers, you don't say 3, 2, 1. When you're counting up, or if you throw apples on the table, you don't say 3, 2, 1. You say 1, 2, 3. This is what you do. The first party, the role of the first party, he's the platform maker, and he makes the game for his own platform. The second party is a game maker who assists the first party in order to enhance the power of the platform. They're assistants. And the third party, they just make games for the platform. It's not necessarily to enhance the platform. They're doing it for their own purposes, but it has a proxy aim of enhancing the library and broadening the platform. The analogy of this is really the first. It's called, let's say, a family-run bakery. The first party would be a grandmother, we call her granny. She owns the business, started the business. She knew how to make cakes, pies, and everything else. Pastries.
She wrote down the recipe. She passed them down. It's grandma's bakery. she's on the thing. She got you guys started. She's the backbone of the bakery, of the business.
She's been there for 50 years. She knows the people in town. She has a clientele established over decades. She's a pillar of the community. She's a storefront. The second party is represented by, say, Granny's daughters, sons, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, cousins, family, friends who assist Granny in running the family store. They might help out in the kitchen. They might run the cash register. They might sweep the floor. They might put out flyers. They might handle the books, the accounting. They all add their different levels of expertise. They don't all know what Granny knows, but they're important. They are important. They help out. They offer their unique talents so the bakery gets stronger. Exactly. That's what their job is. The third party is represented by let's say a lemonade stand vendor. He goes around, a lemonade stand man. He has a little cart he runs around. He asks Granny if he can run his little lemonade shop outside of in her parking lot. She gives him permission to do it because it's a mutual use, mutual benefit scenario. When you eat all those baked pies, cakes, and pastry, your mouth might get dry. You might want some lemonade to wash it down. The lemonade man gets access to Granny's established clientele, so it's a one. You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win situation.
And you give Granny a cut of the proceeds for the permission of being on her turf. That's the role of the parties. But the situation is the third party, the lemonade stand man, wants to operate as if they can tell Granny how to run her bakery. The lemonade stand man wants to say, I want to turn this into a lemonade shop. I want you to move this flyer about this cake sale. I want you to put my lemonade paraphernalia
in the showcase my lemonade with your stuff. Yeah.
They want to take over your store. And that's what the third parties have been wanting to do, but that's not their role. 3 is under 1. 1, 2, and 3. It's a pecking order here. The first party by nature is the boss because he's the storefront. You can make games all day long, but if there's no console to sell them on, you are wasting your damn time. You can't make games without a platform to play it with. It's male and female. You got a plug. The plug is useless without an outlet. You got to have something to give you that connection. The first party is the one that makes the platform. The reason why the first party is the most important, because he can't be just concerned with selling games. He has to make sure the marketplace is healthy enough where games can be sold. He can't just think about selling games on his own thing. He has to create a marketing environment that's good for himself and his second parties and the third parties. He has to be responsible. The second parties recognize its responsibility and try to do the best to support the first party. The third party are in it for themselves, but they can get a piece of this money. Basically, the first party says, we're making this opportunity here. We want you to share in it. You can have a piece of this pie. But the third party wants to own the pie, and that's not your role. Your role is to assist. Your role is not to rule. You're not the boss. Let me tell you something out here. Everybody, we look at the biggest publishing developers in the world. Nintendo is number 1, period. Invest in revenue, they're just number 1. They're number 1 developer and publisher in the world in video games, period. The number 2 one is Activision. Activision is a giant. They're a publishing house giant. And yet, how many consoles do they make? 0. Much less 2 of them at the same time, a handheld and home console. None of these other third parties will even put their hand in making the console. How come you want to run everything? Sony and Microsoft has weakened themselves because they're weak parents. They basically don't put the kids in line. The kids run the house, and that causes Sony to lose millions and millions of dollars. That's what causes Sony to say we need to build a better PS4 because the architecture, we need more power. You got power, and you still want more power. These guys are going to run into a wall, letting the third party ruin. The third party is going to run themselves into ruin. That's what's going to happen in this generation. We already see the canary's already in the coal mine when Konami got out. When Konami got out, that was your signal that this thing is about to go into decline. When Activision sees that Call of Duty is slowly but surely eroding, they're trying to find a way out. The first one was
Call of Duty, World of Warcraft. Basically, Activision has a very interesting problem. They get a hot franchise and they run it into the damn ground, and they don't diversify, which is a bad idea. Like Activision should have 10 billion seller franchises, not 3. They have 3.
Yeah.
They've got World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, and Skylanders. That's it. And now they've recently bought Candy Crush, which is going to get run into the ground. Like, Activision always has 3. Last gen, 2 gen, in the 6th gen, it was Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, and what was that other one? Call of Duty. Like, Activision really needs to diversify from beyond 3, because it's better to have 10 that sell 5 to 6 million, because then you're selling 50 million across 10 different genres versus only 3. Because eventually you're going to run that shit into the ground, which they did. They did with Tony Hawk. They did it with Guitar Hero, and now they're doing it with Call of Duty.
And once it runs out, see, they say that Nintendo makes a franchise where it can last. That's why they can have 3rd anniversaries like that. They can keep their franchises fresh for decades, and it makes money. You make one game one time, it might get ignored a little bit that time. Everybody laughed at Wind Waker when it came out. The remake come out, now people love it again. Majora's Mask, they hate it. Somebody didn't like Majora's Mask difficulty. It comes out on the 3DS, now people love it again. Because you can make your money not only one time, but multiple times, because you put that much crap into your setup. While Activision says, if we don't get this money now, it ain't gonna come back. They're basically running the scared business. They're not running the long business. They're running the short-term scared business. They're good at making that money back. They got good business, but they don't have. They're basically in a one-trick pony kind of setup. And once you run it into the ground, it can't come back. Nobody cares about Tony Hawk anymore. Nobody. And they try to bring Guitar Hero back, but how much did that sell, right?
Basically, as someone who runs a business, your business is based upon your equipment that you use to make your product or do your services. Okay, if you basically don't do maintenance and upkeep for your tools that you use to do your service or make your product, and just run it into the ground, it costs more long term than if you actually do upkeep and maintenance and rotate things out. And people forget that. And Activision damn sure forget it, because they ran Tony Hawk into the ground. They tried to bring Tony Hawk back. They can't do it because they ran it to the ground. We have another question here from Anderson Archilla. When did console specs elevate to some sort of philosophical debate about whether or not it purchased a console instead of what games it has? When these consoles launched with a very weak launch lineup. And I'll be honest with you, the Wii U launched with a weak launch lineup too. The only difference is that the Wii U was backwards compatible, so you could still kind of play a huge library of really good games on the system. The PS4 and the Xbox One didn't even have backwards. Well, the PS4 still doesn't have backwards compatibility, and the Xbox One kind of sort of has backwards compatibility. So it's like, it's like you're still like, well, shit. If I get this game, I'm gonna have to buy one of these games that may or may not be good. A good game came out for the Xbox One, Sunset Overdrive. No one fucking bought it, which is embarrassing. You complain, you say you want a good game, you don't get it. Whatever.
And the thing is, the specs thing, like I said, it's that brand stuff. It's not about the merits of the platform. It's about brand identification. Everybody wants to be Gucci, Prada, Cristal. They want to belong to a brand regardless of the merits of what they produce. Mm-hmm. So the horsepower thing is just, and it's also some adolescent male power fantasy stuff too. They're measuring their manhood through the device they got or the car they have. It's primitive stuff, when I bought a console, whether the console was the most powerful or the least powerful, I didn't care about power. I cared about what kind of gameplay is, what kind of ideas you're putting on. That's what I care more about than anything, theory. Because I had the most powerful consoles a couple of generations. I had the 64 in the 5th generation, but I didn't care about the 64 being more powerful because I like the PlayStation. PlayStation had Bushido Blade. I still love Bushido Blade. I wish they'd come out with a game like that where people can die in a fight at any time, like a real fight would be. When Grand Theft Auto was first showing up, that was a new game. When Resident Evil first showed up, that was a new game. They were doing ideas. That's the kind of stuff I was looking for at that time. They had Parappa the Rapper, had Abe's Odyssey. You had stuff that was new and different. And I didn't care about the PS2 was 32-bit because who cares? That stuff, it was good enough. When the Super Nintendo was around, I had a Super Nintendo. I'm a Nintendo man through and through. Everybody knows this, right? Did that mean I hated Sega Genesis because it was weaker? Hell no. Sega Genesis had some of the baddest games that generation.
Golden Axe, Streets of Rage.
Run through it. It's games beyond the games. I mean, the fact that you can make a dolphin that cool, a dolphin, an ecological game. You can't. They had one of my favorite games, Comic Zone.
Comic Zone, and that game is hard as hell. That game is hard. That game gets in your ass. That's how hard that game is.
That's one of the first games I got on the Wii Virtual Console when it first came out. I said, "Comic." I used to play that on the Sega Channel all the time because it was a new concept. You're in a comic book, a living comic book. You get to move through the panels, and there's all kind of different ways to go through the panels and advance through the adventure. And the game is hard, it's challenging, but it's good. And it was just a well-done game made by the people. It was made by Sega Technical Institute, people in America. So it was a smart. Nobody was doing stuff like that. Nintendo wasn't making a comic book game. Sega made the comic book game. It was about the games. I didn't care about the horsepower of the platform. If the stuff comes out good enough, it's good enough. When the PS2 came out, there was games on that system I wanted to play. You know, even though I had the GameCube, one of the most powerful consoles of that generation, I did not care about the power for the power's sake. And when the 7th generation came around, I had the weakest platform, the Wii. Why? Because the games were fresh. The games were unique and refreshing. And is a breath of fresh air beside the same horse race of power. I don't care about power. I never cared about power. And the Wii U, powerful enough to need what it needs to be there, but it's the weakest gen of the 8th generation. So what? That's like saying a millionaire with only $10 million versus a millionaire with $15 million. Big deal. You're still a millionaire. I don't care. What are you producing? This whole thing about association with a philosophy, like I should have said about philosophy of buying a product based on specs, is out of control. It wasn't like this as much in the 4th and 5th. This thing changed along the way.
All we cared about then was the games, and all we needed was a good commercial for the game, and we would play it like Smash Brothers. When I saw that commercial where they had the dudes in the mascot outfits beating the shit out of each other, I'm like, I gotta get that game. I always wanted to beat the shit out of Pikachu, that little motherfucker, and that game let me do it. It was great. So,
and last generation, I'm gonna name one non-Nintendo game I wanted to play. L.A. Noire.
Yep.
L.A. Noire was a game. It's a game about detecting lies. You're walking around as an investigator, looking at facial cues to figure out who's lying. That's a fresh idea. Nobody was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff I want to see out of gaming. Concepts and ideas, not specs.
Yep. Well, that leads to our next question, which I'll take because it's addressed directly to me. You've said that you're not getting Fallout 4 despite being excited for it, Mr. Red Fox. Could you elaborate on why? I'll tell you why. Because I recently looked back at my library of Bethesda games that I buy, and I came to the realization that Bethesda games launch broken and buggy, and I don't really care to play a broken and buggy game. I don't have the energy, nor the time, nor the, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to play. I don't want to play a game that's broken and buggy and glitchy. I don't want to do it. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play a broken, buggy, glitchy game. I'm not going to pay $60 to play a broken, buggy, glitchy game. And I don't care if someone doesn't like it. I don't care if someone's going to get mad about it. Because, here's the thing. I'm not going to pay someone a huge amount of money to play a broken game. I'm not going to do it. I have other things to do with my time.
And your money. Also, you don't want to reward bad behavior either. Because if you reward them with that stuff, it gives them more incentive to put out broken games.
If all you're going to do is play broken, buggy, glitchy games and just consistently sell me broken and then rely on the community to fix how broken your game is. I mean, what type of development is that? Like, and then to give someone $60, like basically to pay someone $60 in order to play, pay someone money in order to play a beta, to be a beta tester. I'm paying them to be a beta tester. When I was in college, our college was down the street from a technical institute that made video games, okay? They paid us to beta test games. Why the hell would I pay someone $60 plus $30 for a season pass to beta test their game? That's a $90 game. Fuck that. That's why I'm not getting it.
If they don't want you to test it, at the very least, they should give you some money. And if you want to put out a broken game, every game comes with a $100 check, something like that. Then you can
doing it then, though. They would look if they had to pay people for their broken ass games. Bethesda would go broke because all their games come out broken. The first Elder Scrolls was broken. The second Elder Scrolls was broken. The third Elder Scrolls was broken. The fourth Elder Scrolls was broken. The fifth Elder Scrolls was broken. Fallout 3 was broken. Fallout 4. The game hasn't even released yet. It's got bugs. So I mean, come on, man. That's what they do.
How they survive this long? I guess people just it's that junkies thing. I guess you say, right?
Because they're PC. Like, here's the thing. I like Bethesda games, but I always get them when they go on sale. Like, I don't get them at launch. I just wait because I know it's going to be a broken piece of shit, and I'm not paying someone full market price for a broken piece of shit. If you want to give me a deal, I don't mind buying a junker for a fire sale, but I'm not paying full price for a lemon. Our next question is a good one. What do you guys think is better? A console with minimal but functional online features and free, or a console with fleshed out numerous neat online features but all or mostly behind a paywall?
Free. I'm not paying for online twice.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm cheap. I would rather have minimal but functional and free because I'm cheap. I own a business and I know the value of money, and I'm cheap. I already have FiOS in like 4 different locations, including my home, and I pay a decent amount of money for fiber optics internet. Why the hell would I want to pay even more so that someone can, we're keeping up these servers. No, fuck that. No, I'm sorry.
Servers don't cost that much money.
They don't, because most of these games are peer-to-peer anyway. So, more and more developers are moving away from dedicated servers. So what the fuck am I paying for when I pay for online multiplayer memberships and all that shit? Exactly. That's just $15 going to these people for nothing.
I don't know how. I know. See, that's that junkie thing, man. You really hit that thing between the eye of that junkie thing, because I don't know how this got accepted last generation. When 360 and 6th generation really, when Xbox put out here with this nonsense, it's not like you had a separate like satellite where it's like a different service. It's the internet you already got. And when you're talking about paying, the membership to play online, and everybody jumped on that thing, I'm like, because PlayStation actually did that right last generation. PS3 might have been overpriced at $600. No, I'm sorry, at $599 US, $599 US, $599 US. I'm joking. They might have been overpriced, but they had one thing they had right was that you could play for free. That should be the fault. People in the PC world laugh at console gamers who pay for online. I guarantee that stuff. Because I laugh at them. I'm like, you dumb son bitch. I mean, in the PC world, having online play is just part of the game. You don't pay for that. And the fact that all these features and stuff. The serious truth is that stuff really worth that money you're paying for it? I'm here to play a game. Features are nice, but I got a computer anyway. I can do a lot more than my console on my own computer anyway. I'm not here to the console to have a computer experience. I'm here to the console to have a game experience. Consoles are computers. Let's get them right. Let's get them right. But they're focused computers. They're specialized computers focused on gaming. They're about gaming. When I put a console on, it's nice that I can look at Crunchyroll. It's nice that I can have a Wii U chat. It's nice I can go to internet browser. That's nice stuff. I don't mind it. I really like the internet browser they got on the Wii U. But at the end of the day, if that thing don't play games, what am I got? I can browse much better and much more in detail on my computer.
On a PC. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing people don't understand. A console is designed to play games. If it doesn't play, if the games on the console are ass or are uninteresting or not optimized or broken, then all the features in the world aren't going to cover up that it can't do the basic things it's supposed to do. It's like having a car that gets shitty miles per gallon and it's always in the shop, but it's got Sirius XM radio. Like, satellite radio ain't gonna save the fact that this car is a piece of shit. You know?
Exactly.
You know, it's like I'd rather have a car that has standard AM, FM, and good miles per gallon and great mileage, and isn't always in the shop. I don't know why people can't understand that, but I'm an old man when it comes to shit like that. I'm sorry, even though I'm not like actually age-wise an old person. Like I work hard for my money, and I don't want people fucking with it like that. So, I'm not going to pay someone that type of stuff.
And that's part of the problem, because a lot of these guys are teenagers. They ain't been put to work. They get allowances and whatever. They're not really told to go to work yet. And if they work, their work don't have to support them. They basically working for spending money because they live at home with mom and dad or grandma, whoever their guardian is. So their money to them doesn't really mean anything yet because they don't support themselves on it. Once you start getting your 20s, and you got to work, and then it's one thing when you're single in your 20s too, because you can still play around with your money when you're single. Once some kids come along, once you get a wifey, a girlfriend, the last thing you want to be spending extra money on is some games. Outside of you buy a game and put it like that, you're not going to spend extra if you don't have to spend extra. And the real truth, when you got responsibilities, when you got more, and first of all, who wants to spend all that much money on a game system anyway? I got other things to spend my money on too, the things to better my life and things to take me to another level. Games are a hobby. It's my thing for fun and my entertainment. I don't want to put all my wallet into their pockets. I got other things I got to spend money on, and not just money to spend, money to save and invest for the future. I don't want to spend more than I have to on the platform. So you can have all your fancy features, but that's what I can do on the PC anyway. Give me a minimal but functional online that works and is free, and I'm fine. Because
exactly.
Nothing beats free, as a lot of people say, especially the guy named the Black Baron, free 99.
Exactly. Because I work hard for my money, and I don't want people messing it up. So if they don't like it, then kiss my ass. And that's how I feel.
I'm so sad that the gamers have fallen into thinking that's normal to pay for online. When you got online, it's called the ISP. You're paying somebody already. Why are you paying?
You're double paying for something that you already paid for. I mean, don't get me started. We have more questions here. Another one from Anderson Archilla. Wasn't all the developers needed back in the day was a platform and a type of media to print and the game on and for the product to be good? That was back in the day, but now developers basically run 2/3 of the industry. So, when you've got two of the big three that are currently around basically beholden to third parties, then they run the industry. And when third parties run the industry, you get what we're getting now. A lot of mediocre ass games that gamers have convinced themselves are awesome, but they're mediocre. And, they're happy for it. They're like, yeah, this game isn't innovative or doesn't give anything new, but the graphics are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and developers have become a bunch of, let's put it like this, not all of them, because in some cases, it was a conversation we had with, I don't know if this show was Abominito show, one of them shows where it was a guy that had in-game development. He says sometimes it's a complication of the publisher or the top of the developer. Sometimes it's like that, but we're just going to put it in the general sense. Developers have become soft and lazy. I'm going back to the Atari 2600 again. There was the box art of the Atari 2600 had a game of chess on it, right? Back then that was a big deal. To have chess in video game form, but there was no chess game for the Atari 2600. On the box it had part of that as part of the game. So somebody said we got to create chess for the Atari 2600. How can we do it? This thing doesn't have this processing power to put a chess game on there. The guy, what was it? I forgot the guy's name. I need to look him up. But it was a developer. Was it Bob Whitehead? I'm not sure. I don't want to throw the wrong name out there. But it was guys basically said, you know what? I want to find a way to make chess work on a 2600. What he did, he basically turned a chess. He used something called Venetian blinds. He drew it line by line to make the square. So it'd be dark on one side and light on one side in a Venetian blinds setup where it's like, line space, line space, line space, and you can draw a figurine into that Venetian blind. And that's how he created the pawns and the queens, and he programmed a chess game from there. And chess was on the 2600 when on paper it wasn't supposed to fit. It's like the Genesis era, they put game lessons in that on paper. How did they do that? Just like on the 64.
Speaking, but that was the time when innovation ruled, and people would the limitations bred innovation. Now, when you have basically no innovations, they're very like, well, gimme. Well, it should be there. Gimme. It's kind of it. I don't know.
The craft is falling off. I mean, when Resident Evil 2 was put on 64 in that small cartridge space, it was like 512 megabytes, right?
Which was impossible at the time. They were like, "Dude, this can't be done. It's impossible."
And it got done, and it looked good. If they had a little bit more space, they probably made the audio video look exactly the same as a PS1. That's the only thing that was like a slightly bit off. The audio video wasn't the cutscenes wasn't as full gloss as the PS1.
Yeah, but the engine parts looked better on the N64 than the PS1.
All that space was really much used for FMVs. The actual game was absolutely functional on the 64 and better on the 64. But technical limitations. There's no such thing as technical limitation. It's developer limitations. And I'll tell you what's right. Back in them days, they had curves. You had Satoru Iwata talking about he programmed games on a Texas Instrument calculator. On a calculator? How you do that on a calculator? But they did that because they had guts back then. I mean, these jokers. I guess like anything, when a kid has to go through hard knocks, he's more resourceful. He can figure out how to take the lemon to turn the lemonade. He can turn chitlins into a meal. But
believe me, with Thanksgiving and New Year's and Christmas coming up, I will be eating a lot of chitlins. But it's like when you're a spoiled kid, he got all the tools and toys in the world where he's bored. It's just like that. I guess the developers are spoiled now, spoiled brats. So we got another question here from Wonder Dean. What do you guys think of Animal Crossing Amiibo Party? Do you think the vitriol towards the game still going on is justified? I'll answer this question like this. Amiibo are selling 21 million right now. They are outperforming Disney Infinity and Skylanders. And the only reason Nintendo isn't selling more is because they can't keep up with demand. Okay? So basically, what I'm going to say is this. They finally are making a game that really is centered around using Amiibo. You don't need Amiibo to play, but it adds more functionality to the game to have Amiibo. And I'm getting a KK Slider Amiibo. I haven't even liked Animal Crossing since the GameCube, because I had the one on GameCube and it lets you get like NES games, entire friggin' NES games, like The Legend of Zelda and Mario and Donkey Kong in that game, and I got all of them. I even used the hack in order to unlock the ones that technically were only supposed to be in the Japanese version. So what am I going to say is that, I think people are going to hate on that game that's going to make Nintendo money. That's all. Because that's always what happens. People hate on Nintendo about something. They make a lot of money, and then people hate on it, and Nintendo's laughing all the way to the bank. I just hope they find someone.
Let me get on this one, because I'm an Animal Crossing fan to the day. I played it last night. I got New Leaf in my 3DS right now. Well, no, I had it in my 3DS. I got Paper Mario right now. Anyway, Stick a Star, great game. But the Amiibos and Animal Crossing, the only thing that would be more devious with Nintendo, they put Pokemon in Amiibo form and full-fledged. Animal Crossing, you can't make a figurine of every single character because they have endless characters. All these little villagers, you can't do it. They pick a few. And KK is my first choice too. I gotta have my KK, man. I miss old school Tom Nook, not the Cosby Square. That's Tom Nook. Tom Nook with the apron. I need that Tom Nook one day. But we'll get that later.
He's the devil in disguise because he basically owns half the town. Where's my money? What the?
He's the kingpin. I love that. Nintendo had the subtext for that entire game. It looks so innocent, but it's got a lot of dirt in it. That game is very dirty, man, with the subtext, right? But yeah, Amiibo Festival. It's a free game. First of all, all you're doing, if you buy it from retail, you're just buying Amiibos. The game itself is free regardless. You buy it online, digital, it's a free download. It's basically a way to expand this Animal Crossing franchise. Animal Crossing is now, I used to think Animal Crossing was like the B tier franchise, like the next level under the Marios and Zeldas. Not anymore. Animal Crossing is A tier now. Animal Crossing is the bankable franchise now.
Yep.
It's when they showed up in Mario Kart, I should have known, I guess, because that Mario Kart stage with Animal Crossing is just beautiful. It's a beautiful stage. I love that. And Animal Crossing is that money making franchise right now. It's allowed Animal Crossing to become even bigger than before, and it might spread the game out to new people who might not have played the game before. If you're playing in board game form, now you might want to know what KK is all about. Right now, you might want to know what Tom Nook's all about. And people that are existing Animal Crossing fans, they're gonna be all over that mess because you can use all the cards, all the Amiibo toys, even that villager from Smash, if you can find them. That the game is going to sell. And in honest truth, it might surprise people if the game comes out, because people complain about Mario Party 10, right? Because you didn't get the old-fashioned Mario Party with, you had that all-in-one cart stuff. The Amiibo thing was the only thing left of the old style, but it was short. So maybe if you get this game, then the Mario Party fans might cross over into this thing. Amiibo Party is going to do like Happy Home Designer, make big money.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is this. They're pushing Amiibo. They're going to make money. And the haters are going to hate. And Nintendo's going to fluff up their collar and walk away with shades on. Kimishima's going to have his pimp chains and rings on with a cigar hanging out of his mouth saying, yeah, we made money, bitches, and walk away. And that's all that's going to happen. They're going to hate, and Nintendo's going to make money because that's the order of things. And you people need to understand, you can't go against the order of things.
And the thing is, I noticed the Amiibo thing is just getting started also. This Amiibo thing, I was talking to one of my friends recently, past couple of days ago, that at any time they can take the Amiibos and put any kind of data into it. You might have a game, we already had Nintendo Land, we might have a Nintendo World in the future, where Mario data mixes with Samus data, mixes with Shovel Knight data, mixes with Ryu data, mixes with Pac-Man data, mixes with Pikachu data, Link data, and you come up with unique games that unique to every player. It's like a unique universe per game.
Yeah, I can't. Nintendo. That Amiibo was a great parting gift that Iwata pretty much gave Nintendo, because Amiibo are here to stay. Like, they're gonna have that shit forever, right? Like every next console and handheld Nintendo makes is gonna have some type of Amiibo-like functionality, where they have physical media that you can buy and scan and then get something in the game, right? Like, it's a permanent part of it.
I mean, when Miyamoto said aggressive use of IPs, they were not lying. This thing here, I'm telling you, man, it's just, and not just that. See, the cool thing about being a figurine is you can save it down the road. It can make you money after the fact. It's an investment too. It's not just a fun thing to play with too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody, I'm not gonna be hardcore like some people are about it, but there's a few I'm saving for the future. I'm just saying that much right there. Just a few. Okay.
We've got some more questions to get through, and then we'll once we're finished, we'll say our pausing words and wrap it up, because no one wants to be here all night long. We got other stuff we want to do. What's the point of power when people don't really do much with it when given to them in abundance, as opposed to when there's certain limitations which give way to inspiration and innovation? You want to answer this?
Well, yeah, I do. I noticed with power, what I would like to see if you want to use horsepower is more than in cut scenes and trying to make everything look realistic, but give me games like when you beat, like say you're playing a game of a war game, and you're a sword and sorcery game, right? And you beat the guys and they die and they stay on the ground, and the horsepower handle, it keeps track of every single dead henchman, and so you can have a gameplay based on, you can see the bodies pile up on the floor, or use the horsepower to run deeper AI, where the AI gets so smart that you can't figure out what it's going to do, because it can actually think outthink the player. You know, so like Big Blue on a chess game, right? You know, on IBM. I want horsepower to be used more for game aspects than gloss aspects. That's all everybody using horsepower for is gloss aspects. They're not really using anything. They want to make a better looking movie. They want more gloss and shine, but they're not giving me nothing that makes the game richer. You know, you got short games, and you know, and the same kind of stuff we've been doing for the past couple of generations. The stuff we dreamed of in the fourth and the fifth, because of limitations back then, when the Joker got killed, he disappeared off the screen in a blinker fashion, right? But with horsepower, you can do different things with that. You don't have to be that kind of way no more. But they won't do that. I don't understand what the purpose of horsepower is calling for when they won't do anything useful with the power they get.
And that's the sad thing. I got to echo those sentiments. I wish people would use the horsepower for better things. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we could have a GTA, let's say a future style GTA game that instead of you having a friggin' city, give us entire country. Let us instead of, like, let's say we had a future GTA that launched on a really powerful, quote unquote, powerful console, the most powerful console on the market. And instead of giving us a friggin' city, give us an entire continent. Let us have Liberty City, Vice City, and Los Santos. And I mean, let us get on an airplane, fly to different cities, do missions. Give us something huge to a huge playground to play around in. Or, you know, I mean, that would be really cool. Give us something like that. You know, I'm tired of them just going, well, graphically. Look, graphics are fine and dandy, but we're at the point now where every game, like, really, we were at the point during the 6th gen where every game should fucking look good. At this point, I want gameplay to be good, not the graphics just to be good. So, you know, get on that, developers.
Yeah. Good luck on that.
Yeah. Instead of talking about, well, look at the sweat dripping down this guy's face. I don't care about that. Some people think we're getting Amiibo Crossing instead of a core Animal Crossing for Wii U. Do you think that thought is justified? I think that Nintendo is probably going to release an Animal Crossing. It's probably going to, it might get on the Wii U. It's probably going to have Amiibo functionality in there. Like, you scan Amiibo, you get that outfit. Like, you can get a Mario outfit, a Zelda outfit, a Metroid outfit, whatever. I think they might release one, maybe if not next year, the year after next. I think the Wii U is still going to, I think they're still going to support the Wii U for the next 3-4 years, because basically they spent too much money developing the damn thing and it's making money for them. So, like, why drop it? You know, if they have to support it themselves, I know people keep on talking about this NX stuff. I'm telling you right now, the NX is not going to be what people thinks it's going to be. So these people are like, it's going to cure cancer. It's going to balance the budget. And please stop hyping yourself up.
It's like people when people do like a remake or a reboot of a movie or something they like from the past, they build the thing in their head so much that when it finally come out, it doesn't match the
it's not going to live up to that hype. So I advise you just think Nintendo. I mean, me personally, I think they're going to release either it's going to be something we've never thought of. Which I personally, I think it's going to be something. I think it's neither going to be a console nor a handheld. I think it's going to be the linchpin to the Wii U and the 3DS. It's going to be something that's going to kind of keep those things fresh and viable for the next 3 to 4 years, while they basically develop something new, because that's how Nintendo rolls. My theory on it is a third game line that coexists with them, and because the keys when they announced NX was they had Dina. The Dina deal came out with an NX announcement. Dina is part of this thing. It's approaching a tablet PC in some form. We don't know what form it's going to take, but it's not a console. I know that much. But the situation is, by Animal Crossing, Nintendo has a cycle, and Nintendo, when it comes to Zelda and Animal Crossing, they don't skip. Animal Crossing tends to come out early in the generation. And it came out international. The original Animal Crossing came out late in '64, but that was Japan only. When it came international,
It comes out early in the generation. So GameCube came out in 2001. Animal Crossing comes out in 2002. The DS comes out in 2004. Animal Crossing Wild World comes out in 2005. The Wii came out in 2006. Animal Crossing City Folk came out in 2008. And the 3DS came out in 2011. Yeah. Animal Crossing New Leaf came out in 2013. Now, it's a big gap since 2012 to 20 whatever. But that lets you know that the Wii is going to be supported longer because it comes out early in the cycle. Because Animal Crossing has a thing about these DLC trains that go on for years. They take a long time for the drops to end up. So Animal Crossing will come out on the Wii U, and it will. And honest truth, I'm a big fan of Animal Crossing. I'm excited for it because I'm already seeing where they're headed with this thing. After playing Happy Home Designer, Happy Home Designer has outdoor furniture. We might have a bike in Animal Crossing Wii U. We might have a car in Animal Crossing Wii U. Who knows what they're going to put in this game? This game, because what they're going to do, they're not going to fill the thing with graphics and graphics. They're going to put that thing with gameplay. 25 gigabytes isn't big enough to do whatever you want to do with any game you want to do with. If you can't do nothing with 25 gigabytes, you suck as a developer. And so they're going to fill that thing with so much content that it's going to make your head spin. So we got to get used to these little spin-offs for now and to get the amiibos in our hand, because when they drop the big one, they're going to definitely use heavy use of amiibo.
It's going to be amazing. If you're an Animal Crossing fan, it's going to be the shit. And I'm not an Animal Crossing fan except for the GameCube one. That was the first one that came to America. And so, I mean, that's just the one that I love, that GameCube one. Next question. Has anyone seen some preview footage of Fallout 4? Is the gun disappearing a previous bug seen in 3 in New Vegas or new? I forgot. I don't know about the bug, but it wouldn't surprise me because Bethesda makes buggy games, so that's all I can say. You know, a leopard can't change his spots. You know.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. They make broken games. I've never seen a Bethesda game that wasn't broken. So, oh well.
They need better testers.
That's what they do. I mean, because the thing about Bethesda, they rush their games to reach holiday season, and that's how they make their money. The first 3-4 months, that game sells gangbusters. Then they start releasing the DLC, and it sales pick up again. And then after about a year, they do the Game of the Year edition or the Ultimate Edition, which has all the DLC, and they sell it for like $30 or $40, and that's the one I get. Like, I wait a year and I just buy it after that. Next question. Seeing how large and wide Xenoblade Chronicles X and GTA San Andreas are compared to other sandbox games we're getting nowadays, how come no one seems to notice they've shrunk substantially? Because they're looking at the graphics and not at they're looking at the style and not the substance. The style of games are like the graphics. The substance is the gameplay, the ideas behind the game. And I mean, like, I was playing GTA 5, and it's smaller than GTA San Andreas. Can you believe that shit? Like, yeah, it's smaller. A game from right now is smaller than a game that came out 2 gens ago. That's embarrassing. Like, if I was Rockstar, I would be ashamed of myself.
Are you serious?
It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. But like if you played San Andreas, there were like 3 cities in San Andreas. There was Las Venturas, there was Los Santos, which is basically LA. There was Las Venturas, which is Las Vegas, and then there was like there was San Fierro, which is San Francisco. And then you had like the country, which was like where the military base was. That was like, it was the country, it was the desert and stuff like that, which was basically like Nevada. So basically you had 2 states and 3 big ass cities. You're missing. There's only Los Santos and the country in this game. There's like San Andreas in the fucking PS2 game was landlocked. There was a part of the land, like you had the sea on 3 sides. It was almost like a peninsula, but then you had landlocked like far to the north, if I remember correctly. This game is a fucking island. I'm like, what the hell happened? What did you people do to this game? I mean, the geography of this world wouldn't have changed that much over 15 years, but whatever. It's
6th gen San Andreas is bigger than 8th or 7th gen, Grand Theft Auto. What?
Yes, wow. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. Rockstar, I love you guys. I love your games, but you guys need to get your shit together. But I digress. And why aren't people noticing it? Because they're looking at those graphics. These graphics are so awesome. Yeah, but the gameplay sucks. Or there's content that's missing. Like, I went to the Rockstar forums because you have to register in order to get their game. You have to register with Rockstar Social Club. And I was like, they're like, hey, look at all this Halloween shit we came up with. I'm like, why isn't this in the main game? Why do I have to pay you? Why do I have to go online in order to get this content? Fuck you guys. I mean, I didn't curse them out, but I was irate. Our next question is this: I don't think they make business management or tycoon games anymore. Do you think they should make a comeback? What with all of the people who think they know how to run a business despite no credentials or education in it? They still make business games. Harvest Moon, that's a business game.
Yeah, definitely. I know about that game very much. That's hard, boy.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't like Animal Crossing, but Harvest Moon, shit. I am a Harvest Moon master. I will break a Harvest Moon and get all the money and upgrade everything. Like, that's my thing.
I played that thing to death when I first got my I got my GBA from a used from a place, a game place called Rhino down here. It's gone now, but it was a great game store. And I played that thing during breaks at work or whatever. And that thing, it's so hard to get just a little bit of money, just to get them eggs to come up and just to get the milk. But that teaches you how much, and then you gotta have a relationship. You gotta have a social life because you can't just be.
Yeah. Harvest Moon is a grinding game, because in the beginning of that game, it is so hard to make money. Like, when you finally get like 3,000 gold, you're like, oh my god, I'm rich. And then you look at the prices of everything, you're like, shit, I'm broke. I want to get a top line cow. Top line cow's like $1,800.
How kiddie is Harvest Moon now? That's one of the most adult games on the market. That thing, man. Good God.
Yeah. You find out how it feels to be broke. Like, when your cow finally dies, you're like, no, not my milk cow. It hurts because it's your milk cow, and that was a steady source of income. And also because you kind of get attached to your little milk cow and shit like that. And when it dies, you're like, man, I got to get a new cow, and you don't have enough money in the bank. Oh, some hard stuff. It's like, now I got to go sell crops and junk.
Well, not just that, especially when you have your crops set up just like you want them, and then a tornado comes by or a storm and tears up your land setup. You had that before, right?
Yeah, and you got to figure out like how the best way to plant your crops so that you can, like, once you upgrade your water thing, so that you can water like an entire field with like one supercharge, and then like how to till your land, and then like when you get things just the way you want it, have a damn typhoon or hurricane come and fuck up your fields, and then you got to go and do it all over again. You're like, shit, I had it all set up so that everything would be ready on the last day. I'd harvest all this shit and make like $30,000. Sorry,
not just that. When you get tired of that hard grinding with the livestock and the crops, you try to go mining, but then you pass out, and then you end up sick for a couple of days because you stayed too long in the labyrinths. Yeah, and this is all done without no pay to win features like Farmville. This is real farming gameplay.
It's old school, and you can't beat old school. I don't care what people say. You cannot beat old school. But I digress. The last question here, second to last. Seeing how, this is from Anderson Arcello, seeing how PowerPC is more efficient than x86, did the power-hungry devs demand the latter? Did they seriously demand something unfair when they are usually the same ones that demand the highest quality blow-in hookers? I'll answer this one because we've already pretty much touched on it, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, look, third-party devs want to control this industry. They want to run it. They're never going to run it because they don't want to pay the cost to be the boss. You know, like right now, like Nintendo is a first-party console developer. They put their nuts on the line with the Wii U, right? They put their shit on the table. And they said, look, if this shit doesn't work out, we're gonna get in trouble. We're gonna be caught in the bind. Now, despite what people may say, it's not selling well enough. They're making money off of it. Mario Kart 8 paid for itself. Mario Kart paid for itself already. And people don't understand that. You want to answer this one?
What?
Seeing how PowerPC is more efficient than x86, did the power-hungry devs demand the latter, the inferior one, when they normally demand the best? I'll be right back.
Yeah, that thing is. I'll say this. It's laziness. These guys don't want to do anything extra. It basically, it's not the better platform. It's probably just it's probably the more available platform. So, like some people say, I don't know. Like VHS wasn't better than Betamax, but VHS was more common, so everybody started going to VHS. x86 might not. It's all like Flash. Let's put Flash out there. Everybody hates Flash right now. Everybody's starting to cut Flash out of the web market here, right? But Flash is so many things, people just deal with it. So it's hard to cut Flash out. It seems like the same thing with x86. x86, I guess, is so prevalent on the PC side that the PC developers say, instead of, we want to turn these consoles into computers anyway. That's what we've been trying to do for 20-something years already. So let's just go ahead and put 86 right into the console. So we don't have to worry about doing anything extra in transferring the thing from computer to console. We just make it a straight port. That's why they want that. It's not about it's a better architecture. It's just an easier architecture. It's for their laziness. They don't want to do no work. They want to take shortcuts instead of actually using something they actually can get more stuff out of. But they want to port from the PC to the console because they're really trying to turn the console into a PC because they lost the PC market. That's why you got to think about all these PC developers: DICE, BioWare, Bethesda. Everybody talks about Bethesda. Crytek, Rockstar Games is a PC developer. That's DMA Design.
Yep.
They came from Amiga. Psygnosis. They came a lot. It's Sony Studio whatever now, but it's Psygnosis. That's another Amiga developer. All these guys, they're in Sony. I'm just saying. All these guys from the PC world, including EA, which is actually a PC developer. Everybody forgets this. They resent that they lost their market. They can't make money in the PC world anymore. Not big money anymore. Yeah, you can make money in the PC market if you know what you're doing. But there's a reason why the guy from Mojang sold to Microsoft. He was making $100 million in the PC. He made $2-something billion selling to Microsoft. That's right. He did it.
Yeah,
PC
but I'm gonna tell you right now. He may have made $2 billion in selling to Microsoft, but Microsoft's gonna run Minecraft into the ground, just like they did with Rare.
Yeah,
everyone loved Minecraft. Your shit's gonna get run into the ground in about 5 years.
He don't care. He wanted to cash out anyway. He put all that drama queen stuff out there, but he just wanted the money. He don't care about nothing else. But like I say, I mean, these PC developers is the old grudge. It came from 30 years ago. You got to put the thing in history, Anderson Alchella, because when Nintendo, you got to understand, Nintendo when the NES came in here, the console was supposed to die with the crash of '83. There's not supposed to be consoles right now. Console is almost like on Dragon Ball Z. If Trunks didn't come from the future, Goku would have died and androids would have took over the world. There's no Z Warriors, right? But Nintendo came in like Trunks came into the past and changed history. That's why we have consoles to this day. When they came with the NES, the PC game makers lost all their ground. I'm gonna put these stats to you right quick. In 1988 alone, 3 years after NES came to when the Famicom came to America as NES, Nintendo sold 7 million NESs that year. That's almost about the same amount that Commodore 64 sold in its first 5 years. In 1 year, Nintendo sold more machines than Commodore 64 sold in 5. In 1988, is basically because of Nintendo's power in the market, home computer developers were basically having severe financial problems selling their games because they couldn't sell their game because everybody wanted to buy Nintendo stuff. Basically, they had to make a choice. Do I stay on computer? Do I stay on console? By the end of that decade, in the beginning of the 90s, most of those computer developers became console developers because of that reason. They couldn't make money in PC no more.
And they were porting games. They were porting games over to the NES. For example, Shadowrun, one of my favorite point-and-click games on the NES and the Game Boy Color. And that game was originally on the PC. They ported it over to the NES. And it's actually a fairly good port.
Yeah, I bought that game blind. I had no idea what that game. I knew nothing about the pen and paper RPG. I just bought it because the box art looked cool. Had one of the best time of my life for that game. I love that game.
And that game is, I mean, you will die so many times in Shadowrun.
Yeah,
not Shadowrun. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not Shadowrun. It's shit, I forgot. Shadowgate. Sorry, Shadowgate. Shadowgate is the point and click game that's it's for the NES. It was originally on the PC, where basically you're this guy charged with stopping this guy from summoning this dark demonic creature. And it's a point and click puzzle game. Like you have to go and like figure out puzzles and logic puzzles and press switches and get past obstacles and junk using picking up objects and using them in the environment. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, and all that stuff, Gate or Die, Jordan versus Bird, and so many other games started coming. SimCity came to consoles. One way or another, whether Nintendo or Sega, the derivative guy, because the PC market was dead. 1990. I left out one thing. In 1988, the market for home Nintendo cartridges was bigger than for all home computer software combined. Not home computer game software, all home computer software combined. That means your word processor and everything else. Nintendo was outdoing all home computers. By 1990. In American household, there were 30% of American household had an NES, compared to 23% for all home computers combined. This is why the PC developers had to become console developers. That's why EA started bringing Madden to the consoles. All these guys came to the consoles because PC was dried up,
and they hate it.
They tried it. And they've been bitter. It's a long-term business.
I shouldn't say that all of them hate it, because some of the best games we ever had, like SimCity 2000 on the SNES, which is ironically a better game than SimCity 2000, the SimCity 4 that came out a few years ago. I mean, can you believe a game on a fucking cartridge, on a 32 megabyte cartridge, is a better game than some shit that came out a few years ago that's hundreds of times exponentially bigger than an SNES iteration of that game? That's embarrassing.
Wow. That's embarrassing. I played the hell out of SimCity 2000. That's why I know so much about keeping. I will never forget the RCI indicator. Keep your residence, commercial industry in balance. I wish my town knew that. But anyway, the situation is, like I say, all these PC developers, it's a grudge. All the stuff you see about anti-Nintendo stuff, it's got two halves of it. The Japanese is a different kind of grudge than the Western grudge. The Western grudge is deeper than the Japanese grudge. The Japanese grudge can be mediated, but the Western grudge is real deep. They're going to fight this days because they hate what Nintendo put them in. And basically, they lost their market. They try to do it again. The PC market was dysfunctional. That's why when you go to the store, think about this. When you go to the store, how many PC games do you see on the shelf compared to home console games? Are the PC games protected on the glass or held behind the shelf like PC games are? You go to GameStop, you have a PC game turnstile. Then you have console game shelves. There's a difference. That's the reason because of that. That's why everything's selling on digital through Steam. They try to revive the market, try to keep it alive. That's why you have that subscription plan and stuff in PC, because the PC guys don't want to buy nothing. They want to bootleg and hack everything. And everybody else is too complicated because you got no standardization between the thing. Everything is a wild west over there. The PC market did themselves in. So the guys that try to make money in that stuff, they kept leaving the PC. They kept coming to console. They said, we can't keep our market. We'll turn the console into a PC. That's what they've been trying to do this over the past 4 generations. And we're getting closer and closer to consoles as PC with the PS4 and the Xbox One. PS3 and 360 was already strong enough as it was. It's getting worse now.
And that's not going to work. It's going to backfire on them either way. Trying to turn consoles into PCs is backfiring. We've never gotten more broken games than we have now. Unoptimized, broken, no imagination, games that look like they could have been on the PS3 or the Xbox 360 with a slight graphical downgrade. I mean, just uninspired game development. And it's sad because, I mean, these people are capable of better. I've seen them do better just 2 gens ago. And that was only like 10, 15 years ago. And I mean, it's sad. It's sad.
The greed gets in the way, and they rule by the dollar. It's just that simple. And the thing is, I mean, here's the thing: if you're gonna create the market that failed, don't you recognize if you try to recreate that market, it's gonna fail again? If it failed before,
I don't think they understand that.
In another form, it's gonna fail again.
I don't think they understand that. I think they're gonna do whatever the hell they want. Damn the consequences. And if you don't like it, well, I mean, Sony and Microsoft is finally saying we can't do this anymore because the bank has been closed, the checkbook has been shuttered. So,
yeah, it's up to Sony to lose all that money. As I see with PSVR, every little bit of money made on the PS, any money they made on the PS4 is going to go down the toilet with VR and everything. And VR being pushed by the third party, by the way. The situation is, that's why when they put anybody that still makes PC versions of the games you got now, they come out as an afterthought. They come out way later than everything else. They come out not fully featured. They come out chopped up, and it's in their C team to work on it. There's a reason for that because the PC guys don't respect the PC anymore. They want the PC. They want that PC market, but they can't have it in the PC anymore. So they have to go to the consoles and try to basically they're leech it off somebody else. The console market is owned by Nintendo. They're not a member of the industry. They own the industry. This is their machine. They built this design here, and everybody else that's in here is basically derivatives. It's like a bunch of off brands. You go to the store, you got Kellogg, then you have Raisin Bran and Raisin Gran. You got some.
I got a better analogy. Nintendo is Oreo. There's nothing like it. There's only one Oreo. Then you got Microsoft and Sony. They're Duplos and duplexes. It's a black cookie with cream in the middle. But you take a bite, it's like this ain't Oreo. It might be good. Yeah. You might prefer it, but it ain't Oreo. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what we go. He's here. That's what we got going on is that kind of situation. They're trying to transform a machine that's not supposed to be this way. It's not designed to be this way, and it's something that's not supposed to be. And that's why you're going to have more of these glitches. First of all, there's no such thing as public beta testing when game makers had full control of the industry. When you had Nintendo and Sega back in there, Sega would not have you beta test their game. They test their games in-house. That came from the PC world. See, all this stuff. But like I say, these guys, they're going to go out there and double down, try like a dumb bull, and they'll gore themselves. This is it's inevitable. It's gonna take a while to show up. I think this generation, I know this generation is gonna show up when the third party and the PC mentality collapses on itself. They can't do it like this anymore. So,
well, I'm gonna be laughing my ass off when they go bankrupt. So, or when the inevitable third parties shit the bed, and I'm gonna be laughing. Our last question is: the new Mario Tennis seems to be a little light on content. With the predictable complaints, what do you guys think of this lack of content? It's a $50 game, which makes it a budget title under Nintendo, and so I mean, it's a decent budget title. You get online, you get playable characters. They're going to release more characters down the line. Kind of like how they've been doing with Splatoon. So,
it's Mario Tennis, but I mean, it's not that deep anyway.
Exactly. I mean, it's this isn't Mario Galaxy. This isn't Mario 64. This isn't Mario 3D World or Mario Wii U. It's a fucking tennis game.
There's not much you can do with it. You have tournaments. You have the exhibition. The console Mario games never have those story modes anyway. That's the handheld. Even the handheld one didn't have one this time.
If you want a deep Mario tennis game, go get the one that's on the 3DS. That one, because I know what's their name? Camelot would do like RPGs with their games. Like Mario Golf on the handheld is like a friggin' RPG. You level up, you gain skills and abilities. You have stats and stuff. You can equip clubs and shit like that. I mean, I don't know it's a tennis game. I mean, shit. I mean, I think some gamers just like to complain just to be little whiny little bitches.
It's some of that same salt from E3. They mad that they didn't get Zelda this year, and then Star Fox got pushed back. So And then the NX News, everybody is just in this grousey mode right now.
Let me put it this way: we're getting one of the biggest, longest RPGs. They're like, this game takes 80 hours, total for everything, and that's Xenoblade Chronicles X. Stop whining, you bunch of fucking pussies. Bunch of whiny little babies.
So like I said, everything that you didn't get this year, you'll get in spades next year. Nintendo is going to bring the pain in 2016 harder than you ever seen. They're not ready for 2016. I see it coming. I know
they're gonna be like Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. You're gonna just be like dropping bombs and your presents and everything. You're gonna be that kid who got the N64 and lost his shit. That they did the meme for. Yeah, he's like, it's an N64. So with that being said, we've reached the end of our podcast. We've had another panel member join right at the very end. He's like the dude with the water at the end of a marathon, holding the water for you. You just ran the marathon. And it's none other than Kanoshi Abominito. Introduce yourself, Kanoshi Abominito.
Hello, sorry to show up here at the end. I was doing some homework, and yeah, well, what'd you guys discuss? What topics did you go over?
Well, we talked about how a lot of the people in this industry like to revise history in their favor, and like, you know, kind of like how they do in modern textbooks where they like try to revise history in order to make things seem better for themselves, which pisses me the fuck off. I don't like that.
Like when they said that Africans were imported workers.
Yeah, yeah. Or how they said that the Civil War was the war of northern aggression. It wasn't about slavery, but I just read the preamble for the Confederate version of their Declaration of Independence, and it says that the Confederacy was created on the sole principle that the Negro can never be equal to a white man.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, they always say it's about the Civil War is about states' rights, and what was the states' rights they were fighting over?
To have slaves. That's basically what they were. I mean, but I mean, we could do a whole podcast talking about why they revise, like, actual real-life topics of people trying to revise history. We compared that to the revisionist history going on in gaming, how people like to try and, well, so-and-so created the industry or blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, even if I don't like Atari, I recognize what they did for the industry. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Magnavox, but I know what they did for the industry. So, whatever. So that was the podcast. So I guess we should give our sign-offs. Even though you kind of, I'll do the last sign-off. We'll let John Lucas, a.k.a. The Rock, get his sign-off.
All right, first, here we go. The Rock says this, Jabroni, that no matter what happens, exactly what happens, Nintendo will be and will forever be the best video game company there ever was if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Okay, and we're joined by Kanoshi. Give your sign-off.
I don't really have a fancy sign-off. Just see you guys later.
Okay, then I'm gonna give my sign-off, but before I do, I'm joined by a special guest. This is Morgan Freeman, and I only have one thing to say. The Red Fox BS Busters show is where it's at. And believe me, I know what I'm talking about, because I am Morgan Freeman. Thank you. Thank you, Morgan Freeman. I don't know how the hell you got in my house, but whatever. Go help Andy Dufresne get on living or get on dying or whatever the hell. Anyway, so that's the end of this podcast. I enjoyed you guys being here. And stay tuned for more. And more content is on its way. Good night.